Okay.
Welcome back, Sparklers, to another episode of Ignite Your Spark. I'm your host, Kim Duff Selby. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I am grateful that you are here listening and hopefully getting inspired to step out of your comfort zone to shine your light. Maybe you don't need to step out of your comfort zone, but sometimes I bring you information that you may not be aware of, you might find skeptical. I hope you always enter in with an open mind. My goal is to shine a light on my guests so that they can shine their light and help you move forward into yours. Today, my guest is Heather Green, and I found her online through a newsletter from a local bookstore. And I was just drawn to her. I use my intuition with these things, and I reached out and she said yes. And I'll tell you a little bit about her. She is an intuitive, an animal communicator, and an energy healer. And she has written a book called For the Love of Horses, an animal communicator's guide to helping our horses and healing our lives. Heather has been on her own personal journey of healing and transformation. And in 2007, she had a series of mystical experiences that changed the course of her life. And we'll get into that because she received messages from the horse collective consciousness through dreams and telepathy. And they were about the horse's desire for more freedom, dignity, and equality. And she became motivated to share their messages and teach humans ways to be in relationship with them. She's also expanded her practice of energy healing through experiential work with the horses, and she does so much more now as her intuitive channels opened, and we'll find out more about that. She addresses all life areas, including health, relationships, emotional wellness, money and abundance, career, soul's purpose, and spiritual development. She also began guiding others as an ascension guide. And if you have listened to this podcast, you may know that we are in the midst of an ascension. We'll hopefully get to all of this. I don't know. I'm very excited to have Heather here. There's so much more she does. She communicates with other animals and she channels messages. She is just really a cool person, and I can't wait to dive in. Thank you for joining me, Heather, on Ignite Your Spark.
Thank you, Kim. I'm so glad to be here.
I'm really excited to share your messages. And before we get into that, I would love to ask you, Heather, how do you ignite your spark?
So igniting spark meaning passion by that, like my joy,
However you take it. I don't like to define it because I love what comes out of people when I ask. I ask everybody.
Yeah. I think connecting with my guides, I have many different beings that I work with, and my primary angelic group, which is the Elohim angels, and a lot of the nature and elementals. I'm a huge nature person, so I love to be outdoors. And of course, as Kim alluded to, I started with animals, and the horses were the ones that called me. So, that I always go back to that. That's kind of how I tap in spiritually with animals and nature. Yeah.
Beautiful. See, that's a perfect answer. Any answer is perfect. I just like to get people started on this journey of igniting their sparks. I like to hear how everybody else does it. And you answered that beautifully.
Good.
Let's get into your little origin story. How did you first start communicating with horses? And because I believe that was the first way that this gift came to. Did you always have a gift of communicating with animals?
Not that I was aware of. Even as a child, I was very sensitive and, was a big dreamer. So I knew I had, ability there that not everyone has. And that's something I did write about in my book. It's partly the reason I wrote the book is really to inspire people to follow their own journey of spiritual awakening. We all have our own unique calling into it. And so even though I was spiritual for a long time in my life, it wasn't really until around, I was on a healing path the horses came into my life. So I would say I woke up years before that. It's been definitely 25 plus years for sure in my lifetime now that I've been on this transformational journey. But the horses showed up around 2007, and they came to me in dreams at first. And I wasn't a horse person before that. So I had no idea why they were showing up or what they wanted. So it wasn't until I followed through with, let me check into this. Let's see what's going on. I had to figure out what they were trying to tell me. And at the time, I had no idea. It wasn't until I volunteered at rescues and sanctuaries and had contact with them that I realized what they were trying to do, which was to really connect me in with my gift of being able to communicate with animals and being able to work with energy in such a way to help others heal. So that was how, I got into it, because I explored it. I wanted to see, what is this? What's this about? What's happening here? And I just stayed open and allowed it to happen. Now, I had a really good meditation practice before that. And so it helped when I meditated, because after I was in contact with the horses, then they began to talk to me through meditation. They began to link up with me telepathically that way. So that's another way that I got started in the process.
That
Yeah.
is so cool. I have not read your book, but I imagine they were sharing messages. Well, I did read, excuse me, some of your blog posts, and that you also
Mm-hmm.
communicate with cows in this way, and they give you messages about what they want for the world, that they need
Mm-hmm.
love, they need care. It's interesting because
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know cows are sacred in India, but so many people take cows for granted. We see them on the side of the road. And is that why
Yep.
they reached out to you?
Yes, and interesting enough, I'm glad you brought up the cows, because that's more recent in my life now, that they've been calling me over the last year or so. They've been reaching out saying, "Hey, we're over here. Can you talk with us?" Because for years I worked with horses and domestic animals like cats and dogs, and I still do. I still help people with their horses, dogs, and cats, doing energy work, doing readings with them to help guide people with their own animals. But then the cows were like, "Hey, we want some attention. People don't notice us." And as you said, Kim, people take them for granted. They're just there, and like other farm animals, are often neglected or pushed aside or just not valued. So I
Mhm.
really wanted, they called to my heart, and I really wanted their voice to be heard. So it's a new thing in the last year that I've been traveling to visit with them on ranches and just hear what they have to say, and even share with their owners if it's appropriate, hey, they have this to say, or even collectively, a lot of them just want us to know on a collective level where they're at and what they would like next. And it's really a reflection of our own evolution as humans on the planet, ultimately.
A couple of questions. Do the farmers and the people, the ranches you go to, they think you're nuts? I mean, I don't. I totally get it. But I can imagine you going to this ranch and going, by the way, your cows said, that's
So far, I've only been working with people that are open to it.
okay.
In the beginning, I reached out to some people that I thought would be like, again, rescues, people that already are aligned with animals as sentient beings and want to help them and want them to live out their lives and things like that. So that's what I've been doing on my first trip now in May. When I went to New Mexico and Texas, and I did connect with some cows along the way, just on the side of the road. Even
Yeah.
I was drawn. I went where I was drawn,
Yeah.
and I didn't even tell the ranchers. I just worked with them right there, took their messages with me, and brought them along, and to share, of course, on a bigger scale with other people, because I feel like my real listeners are the people that read my blog, listen to
Mhm.
my post, on Facebook and Instagram, and my newsletter where I have videos and things like that. So that's where I think the change can happen, is more on a bigger scale with people that are more conscious. So it's about helping where I can, but also, sharing the words of wisdom from the ones that I'm connecting with to those who are ready to hear it, so that they can implement the changes that way.
Perfect. It's beautiful. It's all part of the process of ascension as well. Do they want us?
Mhm.
I mean, I don't eat red meat. So do they want people to stop eating meat? I mean, I know that's a weird question, but I'm,
I know it's well, they want me to do some teaching first, and I probably will reach out and try to do some groups with, potentially with ranchers or anyone that
yeah.
will have me to talk about how to connect with them more. I feel personally, process of change happens when we're connected to these animals, just as we are, our other human friends and family. And then the changes take place naturally for us. We decide, okay, we don't want to eat meat or dairy, or, we want to only certainly, like, I know for me, like, I still eat eggs, but I make sure I buy free range, and it's, ones that are not use machines to get the
Right.
eggs. It's on a full farm kind of thing, things like that. So I do think it's a process. What I have been getting recently is they want to move away from, yes, the slaughtering, and they want to live more naturally with us. Kind of like back in the day, if you remember the times when farmers, maybe you had a one cow on your ranch and it got you through the winter because you had the milk, right? And they would keep that cow forever. And maybe they would end up, if they had to, they would have to slaughter it. But usually they would keep their cow, and it would, provide the milk and get them through cold winters. What I feel like they want more is to go back to having them be more like family with us. And they can still provide some sustenance, but to start moving away from the slaughter process, which usually has to do with the big commercial farms,
Right.
factories. And that's what they're really saying. No more of that. That doesn't do anyone any good, them or us. It's not really good to be consuming those products anyway. So that's what they're wanting to move us into. And of course, they understand, I connect more on a higher consciousness level. They understand there's a process here, but we're also in it. We are in it. We're working through it. And it's the right time for people to start hearing it and thinking about it. So wanting more of that intimate connection with us. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for the cow update. I like that. I'm going to look at them a little differently now when I do see them. I don't live in a farm area, but you always see them on the side of the road.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They're everywhere.
Let's get into, I do have, because I've never interviewed someone who is a pet. I'm just going to call you a pet intuitive,
Oh, pet psychic. Yeah.
Pet psychic. I was going to say that. And I think that's really something that people want to, know about, but I'm also interested in sort of how you started. You were going through some health issues or something to heal yourself.
Yeah, I've definitely been on a path of healing for a long time. Trying to think, you're asking about how did I get working with domestic animals?
Yeah, let's talk about how, but you work with humans. Let's clarify this for everybody.
Yeah.
You work with people and you work with their animals as well.
Yes.
And your healing is, tell us about your healing process. I'm sure that it's similar. I read about it for the animals and humans, but just briefly tell us that. And then let's talk about your connection with the animals too.
Okay, so meaning how I heal them, or how I heal
sure.
myself?
Let's talk about how and what you heal. I mean, I know you do a lot. Yeah. I mean, you heal everything. I read that you
yeah, I'm definitely can address anything. Yeah, so after the horse experience, which really got me into working with animals, I realized I could do it with any animal. So I started working more with people's cats and dogs.
Yeah.
People that basically what it segued into is that I was volunteering at these rescues, but some of the people I was meeting there were wanting readings from me because they would hear about what I was doing with the rescue horses. So I said, sure. And in the beginning, it was volunteer. Then I asked for a little bit of money. Then I said, hey, if I'm getting this many readings, I need to quit my day job because it takes time and energy, of course. So then I just, I slowly backed out of an old career in nursing. That's what I used to do before I did this kind of work, and started working privately with people mostly over the phone, actually, in the beginning, and did, private sessions for people's dogs and cats. And in that process, I realized I could do the same with humans. And people were saying, well, can you help me too? If you can help my dog? I'm like, of course. Yeah, this goes hand in hand. So, reading the same way most people do with intuitive readings, my psychic senses were wide open by that time. So I can hear spirit, I hear my guides connect with that person's guides, and that's how the message comes in. With animals, it's more telepathic. They talk right directly to me. It's kind of like you can hear them in your head, or you see them there, you get the words, you get the pictures. So that's kind of how I began with that. And as far as the energy healing goes, I've always had my own style, on my own journey of healing and transformation, which continues on like everybody else's. I began, in the past working with a shamanic practitioner and learned some skills that way. But then when the horses woke me up, they showed me other ways to work with energy that can benefit animals and people. So I tend to work more at a higher self level and let the higher self do the work, but send the message, the information. I do work with sacred geometry and color as part of an energy healing process. With people, I help them release patterns, particularly that's what we have going on, our heavy patterns that repeat over and over, right? Due to our bigger wounds, and releasing them and any emotional components so then we can step forward and begin creating the life we desire. And so that could be in areas of health, relationships, career, money, the main areas that people tend to focus on. And with animals, the same, relationship issues, behavior issues. If you see on my website, I help with sibling rivalry. That's one of my
Yeah, we
specialty
have that
areas.
issue. I get that.
Yeah, like cats that fight in the
Yeah.
family, or if you get a new animal in and they're trying to integrate. So, and PTSD, because I get a lot of trauma experiences with animals. People come to me and say, "Oh, my dog was attacked, and now he's not the same
Mm.
anymore," or "My cat won't go out anymore," or certain environments they have a reaction in because of something that's happened to them. So I do work with a lot of that, helping the animals release the trauma, move into a new energy, so they're not on that wavelength anymore, and then they can start fresh. So
Oh,
yeah, that's
so cool.
some of the many ways I help them. Yeah,
Do you also speak to people's pets who or bring messages from pets who passed?
absolutely. Yep, a lot.
Yeah, I figured
So
people really come to you for that. The other question I have, and I read something recently that spurs this, is that oftentimes our animals are a reflection of our own emotions, whether it's
yes,
we're anxiety driven and they get anxiety. And when you are healing, can you heal both the pet and
yes.
the parent?
Yes, and this is a lot in my book too for those who read it. And I did, as I told Kim before we hopped on this call, I used to do equine facilitated learning work in the very beginning as well. And in that way, you can really see how the animals reflect what's going on inside of us. Now, they help us see our own issues. And I do find even more that they're empathic, so they can pick up our stuff. They can literally pick up our emotions, our thoughts, our behaviors, even physical stuff. I always tell people keep your body healthy because they will often absorb our physical energies and can even pick up diseases or illnesses because we have them in our body and they're trying to help us. So in sessions, I'll work with both the human and the animal if it's appropriate and if that comes up as a way to clear both of those energies so the animal isn't continuing to carry it. But I do tell people work on your issues because it's partly because you're not working on it that the animal's trying to help you with it. It's because when we repress it, if we ignore it or pretend it's not there, it's almost like we leak out the energy and the animal feels it and then they take it on. They absorb it. They're right there with us, right? So we don't want them to do that. So if anything, your biggest responsibility would be to take charge of your own path and really do your work, internal, physical, all the stuff that you need to do to heal yourself so that your animal doesn't get hit with the blast, so to speak.
Mm.
Yeah.
I mean, I believe that animals come into our life for a reason, that
Hmm.
they're there and then it's our turn. We adopted well, we didn't even do any adoption. We had a dog, and then our cleaning person at the time had two chihuahuas who gave birth to lots of chihuahuas and said, "Would you like another
Oh.
dog?" She brought the dog over and was like, "Of course we want this dog." We couldn't, and I know that that sweet little dog came into our life for a reason. Now our dogs hated each other. I mean, literally.
Oh.
Oh, I wish I'd known you then. This is many years ago. They've both been gone for a while. But I do, I think it's fascinating. I think everybody should have a pet psychic in their back pocket because I
Yeah.
see a lot of dogs with issues. And then there are dogs who only bark at certain dogs and not other dogs. And I'm sure they're just, I mean, they have little minds and consciousness just like we do.
Yeah. And it tends to get more elaborate because they're living with us and they're in our lives, they become a lot like us in that way.
Yeah.
That they, can have a variety of issues and challenges when in the simplicity of the wild, it's a little bit different. They don't have that connection with us that creates all these stories and these layers and just so many different things. But I do think a lot of what they present to us is a reflection of what actually we have going on. I mean,
Oh,
I find
yeah.
so often. Yeah.
Although I never really like bit anybody, like our other dog bit one dog. I never felt that
Yeah.
impression, but it's funny. Now, when you're tuning in to people or animals, I know you do this all remotely now, or you did, you've
Mostly.
always done that, but
Mostly. Yeah.
do you go into a trance state, or do you prepare for this in a certain way to tune into the person or animal, and how the messages just come through? Because I know there's so many people who are clairaudient,
Mhm.
clairvoyant, clairsentient, and I was just
Mhm.
curious to talk about your gifts in that way.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I have the full range of psychic ability, all the clairs, so I can use them. But when I prepare for a session at this point, because I've been doing it now for 15 years, I just get relaxed. I wouldn't say I go into a trance. It's just more like a deeply relaxed state before the session, even like we are right now.
Mhm.
And even if you and I were doing a session right now, this is how it would be. And then I just tune inward. Usually I close my eyes and the information just comes right in. So because I'm used to it, it's kind of like a muscle that I've worked for so long that
Mm.
literally I can pick up the weight and just get right into it. Where for someone new, they just have to practice. They got to lift those weights. It's just a skill that needs to be developed. I do think most of us at this point can be doing this work if we want to, because we are in a time of consciousness expansion. We're in the time of ascension. And it's really about lighting up those chakras and using those innate gifts that are part of the human template. And because we are evolving that way, I do think it's possible for everyone if they want to use these skills and gifts. But it does take practice for
Yeah, you
sure if
jumped
you're not.
you jumped ahead of me.
Yeah.
Was my next question, because I do ask people this. And there are
Hmm.
different answers. I believe everybody has an intuitive sense, but you answered exactly what my question was. Do you think, especially now that we are raising our vibrations such that we could all call in this intuitive ability? And I know that some people are afraid of that
Hmm.
because you don't
Yeah.
want to know when you're going to die. You don't want to know necessarily a lot of
Yeah.
things. But I think it's important to use our intuition. When you work with people,
Hmm.
do you help them access their own intuition as well?
I do. I often will mentor people if they want mentoring for intuitive development or even channeling, which is another skill that I offer now. So I'm getting people that want to learn how to channel. And so, yeah, I can definitely help. And I understand, yeah, doubting comes up, people wondering, am I even getting, is this even correct? Am I pretending? Is this just made up? And that's the ego that likes to jump in and block things, or being afraid of what's revealed. But I have found on the journey that it usually isn't information like that you're going to get, like, and also I use discernment. Don't ask questions if you don't want to know the answers. Let's face it, life is meant to be lived. We don't have to know everything. I
Right.
certainly don't go into the rabbit hole asking a bunch of questions that I know I don't really have any desire to really know the answer to. I want to know what I need to know right now in this time. So I always encourage people, stay present with it, make it very practical for your life in the beginning. And then your guys, especially if you work with them more, let them know, just tell me what I need to hear, only what's going to help me at this time. And usually they're really great with that. I've never found anyone that I've known that has had guides that just revealing this really off the wall kind of stuff that's going to scare them so much that they wouldn't want to do it again, because they don't want that. They want your connection. They've been waiting. It's like they've been hollering in your ear your whole life, and now you're finally listening. So they want to keep that going.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I feel that I'm more open. I mean, I've always believed this, always, because that's how I grew up as a 5-year-old, I went to my first seance. So I know these things, but I do feel that even I am opening up more, not even I, but that I can see everyone else. Question about the channeling. And as we get near our end of time together, do you channel specific entities when you do your channeling?
Yeah, the primary ones I channel publicly now are the Pleiadian High Council and the Elohim Angels. And sometimes I will channel nature beings, and like I'll channel the Whale Collective because I've worked with whale energies, especially when I lived in Monterey, and that's what I told you about Kim earlier. So the whale collective, they come in as a group. And again, it's a higher consciousness because many of those beings come from other planets and star systems that are a little more evolved than where we are. So they have great wisdom to offer. And now I am channeling Cow Collective. Now I don't usually channel them verbally, but I will do it written. So those are the primary groups, and the first two is the ones that I channel more publicly, like in videos or for a special event or something like that.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
talk about your offerings in a second before we close,
Mhm.
of course, because they look fascinating, one near me, as a matter of fact. And I've long heard that whales are very spiritual and that
Yeah.
they fascinate me. I don't love being out in the sea. That's
It's okay. You don't have to.
not my
You don't
kind of
have to be
thing.
anywhere near the sea to connect to them.
Right.
They'll-
I love their sounds and their music. I call it their music is so soothing. Yes, we will
yeah.
talk about that. But also, do you have any messages that you would like to share with the listeners about our ascension before we go into all of your offerings as well?
Good question. I would say remember that it's inevitable. We're in it. So nothing can stop that. A lot of people say, well, is it going to happen? Is something going to prevent it? Are we in a doom and gloom? There's so much stuff out in the world that's very negative based. And we can easily go down that pathway if we want with our minds. I think that it looks very light and bright as we go forward, and that we're moving through this time really gracefully as a collective, even if it looks scary with things happening in our world. Just know that all of that has to come up to be seen and acknowledged and integrated. That's part of why it looks chaotic out there right now, so that we can move through it and make a different choice. And we are well on our way. And I say focus on the higher timelines too, for all of those intuitives out there, those listening who maybe you already have the gift and you can tune in and you tap into these timelines, and there's a variety of them out there. Focus on the higher ones because the lower ones don't have to happen. They might still exist, but we're on a gauge now where we're headed in a really good direction. And I would call it like an organic ascension. It's unfolding just as it should, as ascension's meant to unfold, which isn't about drama. It's not about destruction and apocalyptic events. It's just plain normal and natural and beautiful to notice the witness of us rising into this higher vibrational frequency, which is really what it's all about. So if we can enjoy and celebrate all that's good and continue to point, I want to say, what does good mean? What feels good? What brings lightness? What brings freedom and all those feelings? Focus there, and that gives permission to everyone else to focus there, and we get there quicker. Yeah.
Well, that's my message. And I guess there was no accident. I created this podcast at the time when I did create it. And it's my intuition that by raising our own vibration, and people want to know how you do that by doing joyful things, smiling,
Yes.
being kind, and doing what brings you joy. What brings you joy is going to raise your vibration. Is it dancing? Is it walking? Is it hiking? Is it telling someone you love them? I just can't encourage people enough. That is accessing your inner light. And when you access it and shine it and share it, we're going to raise the vibration more quickly. In fact, I had once heard it was going to be in the 1930s, the 2030 arena where we were reaching that. I think I first heard that through Diana Cooper, if you're familiar with her angelic guiding. But now other podcasts I've listened to, because I'm obsessed with this stuff. I keep hearing that it's happening sooner. It's going to happen sooner because the vibration is being raised more quickly than had originally been anticipated, because we have free will and we can raise our vibration if we want to, and everybody raise your vibration.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, and I would say focus on what lights you up. Exactly. And in the 5D energies are what feels easy, what's light, what brings you wonder, a sense of wonder and awe when you just your jaw drops and look at the beauty around you. The 5D, it's here, it's with us, and we can look outside our window and see it, especially in nature. So I always encourage people, the more you notice it, the bigger it gets, not only for you, but for everyone else. So absolutely right
Ooh,
on with that
so
one.
excited. All right, Heather, tell people where they can find you online.
Yeah, so my website is Teal Healing, and that's teal like the color, Teal healing, all one word, .com. And that's where you can find out about my services, all that I offer, my background. My blog is attached. That's the writings page. So you can read more about the animal work I do there and sign up for sessions on my services page. So it's pretty easy. And at the very bottom of the homepage, you can reach my YouTube channel and all my other social media as well. So.
And tell us, you do have some events coming up right now, in-person
Oh, yeah.
events. Tell us quickly
Yeah,
about.
I do. I have some big retreats and trips. So I have a whale trip actually that I'm planning in Monterey for California people or anyone who wants to go to California. It'll be in Moss Landing. It's a company that works there, boat company. So what I'll be doing is taking out a small group of people and we'll be going on the boat to see the whales, but I'll also be teaching you how to connect with them, how to communicate with them, how to receive and send healing, because I think it always goes back both ways. It's not just one way, it's both. And every time I do these trips, there's amazing fun. I mean, it's just a blast and it's magic. Every single time I've been blown away by the magic of these kind of trips because the whales know that we're connecting with them in a higher consciousness way. It's not just going out on a boat to look at them. We're actually trying to connect with them. So that one will be in early October. You can find the details on my website, on my blog about that. And then I'm also doing a Sedona retreat here mid-November. I think it's November 14th or 15th. It's a weekend event. It's a retreat for people just to go within and for self-care. Sedona is a powerful healing place. That's why I live here. It's very supportive to me in my process of transformation. And in being a healer, it allows me to do my best work. So there's gorgeous mountains and vortexes here. We'll be doing things outdoors. We'll be doing energy work outdoors with the earth. We'll be doing protocols and I'll be giving readings and channeled messages indoors at my home. I have a beautiful space to invite people in for that. So it'll be a really great weekend. And then
Yeah,
all
you
the
have some
details.
beautiful things. And I hope everybody checks it out. Even if you don't do that, you have one channeled message that very affordable. And I didn't have a chance to listen to that, but I definitely want to. And I just think that what
Yeah.
you're doing to raise the vibration and help us on our path to becoming our best selves is wonderful. Connecting with the animals. Thank you for your gifts. Thank you for sharing them. That's amazing.
Oh, thank you so much, Kim. Yes, you guys all can find out all those details on my blog. So all of those events are labeled really well on the blog site.
Yeah.
So just go there. But yeah, it's been great. Thank you for
Oh,
having me.
oh, thank you for sharing your wisdom and your light with my audience. I'm very grateful that you said yes to being on here, Heather. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you too.
And listeners, thank you so much. Remember, if you have issues with your pets, I mean, Heather's the gal for you. I think it's so fascinating. Just of course, we want to find out about ourselves, but to find out about those animals whom we love and adore so much, to make their lives more sympathetic with ours, more simpatico, so that we are connecting with them. I just think that what a gift Heather has to share with all of you. And I hope you have learned something today. And I know your spark has been ignited. And so this is like another way of why you should ignite your spark, to raise the vibration of the planet. So if you're not going to do it for yourself, do it for the planet, because we really need your light. Continue to shine on. I hope if this resonated with you, you will share this episode, rate, comment, give me 5 stars like you would your Uber driver, and help us get more listens so that we can raise the vibration of the planet even more quickly. And I'll see you next week. Shine on.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.